will just have to click enter just to get it going.
It's running, I think.
There's no time on this first slide.
Oh, okay. Shall I just move it on then?
Yeah, go for it. Hello, everybody. Today I want to talk about defensiveness. Now, I've started to view the costume Stanley Black as a separate artistic entity, so I'm viewing this rather than the Petricutor as part of my art practice. I've mainly been inspired by this artist, Doug Fishburn, who describes himself as a stand-up conceptual artist. He was the main inspiration for my infamous feminism talk that I gave for my postgraduate forum. Over the summer, I had decided to abandon my political work. However, after speaking to Lois in my tutorial, she was really interested in the fact that I'd enrolled in college under an alias and spent the first unit developing and building a persona. I did explain to her that some of my work was highly contentious and fundamentally anti-PC, stating that Stanley Black was a political artist, but in a left-leaning institution, he promoted the wrong type of politics. She felt it could be viewed as a waste to develop a character and then not explore the idea further, so I'm back, baby. She asked me a very pertinent question. What was the point of aligning myself with right-wing views? I actually describe myself politically as a classical liberal and only adopt contrarian views to play devil's advocate, utilise them for effect and shock value. The aim and object of my art is to try and promote discussion and open up dialogue. The way I view current political discourse is that dialogue between left and right is completely broken down, especially related to hard issues. It's not only dangerous that communication of ideas between the two ends of the political spectrum is essential to a healthy functioning democracy, but also to break down the conversation leads to a rise in extremism on both sides. Freedom of speech and its byproduct, freedom of expression, is essential to healthy dialogue. Freedom of speech is a social contract where everybody agrees that everybody has the freedom to think what they like, and therefore also free to say what they like. There are, of course, caveats, like not shouting fire in a crowded building or incitement to violence. However, this social contract breaks down when people are oversensitive, and rather than dealing with other people's thoughts and possibly abhorrent views, just try to shut them down by claiming offence, which means the issue or thought is suppressed, where confessed to rather than being out in the open. My main objection to political correctness is not in regards to its initial objective, which can be viewed as a form of politeness in the public sphere, but in fact it has been weaponised by leftists and is used as a tool to suppress ideas and thoughts and fall outside the ever-narrowing range of acceptable discourse. Now, because some of my work is offensive, I see no problem with fine art or any other cultural artefact with being offensive, as long as it is clever or it is funny. One of the roles I'm interested in is the role as artist provocateur. Often this is a deliberate tactic meant to question the views, beliefs and presuppositions, or to question the boundaries of taste and decency. Gilbert and George are touchstones in regards to my artistic vision and tone, as I've drawn heavily upon their concept of living sculptures, where they themselves become the artwork, although my main interest lies in how their work challenges middle-class sensibilities by producing shocking and often confrontational works.
Stanley.
How many of you know Doug Fishburn's work? Anyone seen it? No. Kind of stand-up comedy-ish as work. What did you guys think of Stanley's presentation? Post-lunch coma, everyone?
Do you agree? I mean, I think the key word was the idea of the artist as a provocateur. Do you think that is our role?
Yeah, Stan always takes it a step further, right? Yeah. The role of the artist is to make a subject.
Challenge and question.
That's what I'm trying to say, yeah. That definitely makes us challenge, question certain subjects.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that all artists should be provocateurs, but I think there's like a little role for it maybe somewhere, a little bit.
Well, it's a continuum, isn't it? If art makes you think and makes you see things differently, that's... Provocation itself, isn't it? It's a spectrum, isn't it? Of to what extent your main purpose is to provoke. But all art provokes to some extent.
I think we're not necessarily provocateurs always, but I think good art sends out provocations to the viewer.
Yeah.
And those can be very gentle and inquiring, or they can be quite in your face and, direct in that respect. It's interesting because if the theme of this morning was the idea of juxtaposition and kind of nuanced narratives, I think the theme of this afternoon is about icons and about kind of symbolism, potentially kind of seeing the images you're choosing and also how you're talking about them. And I think there's a danger that artists can slip into making not metaphors or analogies, in terms of our provocation, but that we can actually kind of stop recycling cliches. And I think there's a kind of danger to what these images that you've chosen are. It's like, that's a cliche. Forget the racism. Just think about what they're doing semiotically. It's just like, it's recycling and putting things back in a slightly different format. A gollywog on a white skin.
Do you not think it was a good joke though, or? The article was quite funny more than anything.
I don't know. I mean, he's just set himself up to get beaten up on a regular basis, because anybody who knows what that came from and that background and the fact that the gollywog. I know a lot of black artists that back in the day used to collect gollywogs as an ironic thing, and partly because they wanted to get them out of the public domain. It's just like, I don't want to see this ever. Nobody should see this ever. I will buy it and I will take it.
I found it interesting actually, the prees, in the toy museum.
Yeah.
One of the pictures, so I saw that flash, I was like, that's quite interesting. You wouldn't expect to get two, would you, with one day's worth of show. So I just thought that was a bit, I thought that was interesting.
It's interesting because I think it's still there. There's a section of the Horniman Museum which is dedicated to stuff that they technically can't show anymore because it's racist or colonialist or what have you. I suppose my question is, it's interesting, Lois's advice. It sounded like you were moving on.
Yeah, well, the thing is, what I said to her...
What's your business? What has Stanley Black got to do that's...
It's funny, because I was like, she was saying to me, that's really interesting what you've been doing, and I just was thinking, you don't know what some of my work's like, otherwise you wouldn't be advising me this. So I did actually send an email, so you're probably going to have to look at it. But yeah, I was just going to make stuff. Just make well-made stuff, and I was quite happy with that. But just because she said, that's really interesting, you should maybe pursue it further, that just got me thinking, so I just thought maybe I should.
I thought it was funny how unoffensive your presentation today was. It was pretty reasonable. It's like, there's possibly some offensive stuff, or maybe an artist as a provocateur. Interestingly, a lot of the artists you show, well, some of them, like Gavin Turk there on the right, his whole provocateur is about provocation, is about the value of art. So everything's trash or thrown away, or he just finds it and signs it. So it's all about the value of art, or even Banksy's little auto shredding thing this weekend, whenever it was. That was just provoking about value. So it's kind of boring because it's like you can decide whatever value you want in art. So there's probably maybe, I liked, he's a kind of controversial comedian, but really funny as well. And I guess...
the only reason I use those two images because they both have sort of personas, but who are themselves.
Yeah.
So Stuart Lee describes this sort of stand-up Stuart Lee as slightly different character to the person he is normally. He's a little bit more, sort of snobby and really look down on the audience and start quoting really high literature and stuff. So that's the reason for that. And the entire talk was not so much about offence, even though it was more about the right to offend, and it's more about freedom of speech and expression. That was basically the main thrust of it.
Well, it's a big debate at the moment, isn't it? There's a huge, part of the reason Brexit got voted for was because people feel threatened that it's become too PC. I mean, there's a whole right-wing kickback against globalization, multiculturalism, so people are debating this constantly, which is ironic because the right, which usually wouldn't want multiculturalism in America, for example, also wants freedom. Freedom! But yet, they don't want people to come and be free.
Yeah.
So there is this really odd nexus where the very thing that we're talking about, the people that pretend to be, like any conservative politically is generally anti-gay rights, generally anti-female rights, but aligns also often in religious terms, which is as close as you're going to get to Islamic fundamentalism. So I've always found it really weird that the American right is actually closest to the thing they try to say represents anti-freedom. So the freedom issue I find fascinating. I think that's more intriguing than, say, value or even provocateur, but the idea of what is the notion of freedom, that's a kind of funny...
Yeah, no, that is really interesting, because the reason right-wing Christians in America understand them so well is because they are so similar. Because they both believe.
Yeah.
They both believe. It's like sometimes when you speak to people about Islam, it's like, well, this is all about politics, or they surely don't believe they're going to go to heaven and, you know, get their 32 virgins, but they do absolutely believe it.
Mm.
And yeah, fundamental Christians understand that because they believe it as well, don't they?
Mm.
It might be worth, I think it is linked to values actually. It might be worth having a look at an organisation called Common Cause. And what they have is a map of the global values, literally, that apply everywhere in the world. But what they do is they group up differently. So, as you say, the right-wing values will be privileged to do with this idea of protectionism. And a lot of it is actually about closing things down. The liberal values are to do with self-expression, are to do with putting back into the community. So there's basically intrinsic, i.e. inward-looking, and extrinsic. And I think one of the difficulties for you, if you are touching on these bigger values, but you are trying to embody and represent it because of the Stanley Black persona. And I think in a sense, you've just created a rod for your own back and a huge burden.
I've seen like that.
Because you can't step away unless critical distance. I mean, in a sense, it would be easier to be a shapeshifter and be several people. It takes the pressure off you hugely with this persona. And also I think